First up today, we're actually going to start in the MLB where there was breaking news as of just this morning that we have 8 new Seattle Mariners players who have tested positive and 2 coaches as well for COVID-19, obviously. That's bringing the total to 14 members of the team who have tested positive. So their home opener, which for tonight was canceled, as well as another game that was scheduled for tonight between the Phillies and the Yankees. And this is obviously possibly even putting the whole season in jeopardy. And there's probably going to be more players who test positive as a result of this. And I believe that they are the only league that's not doing a bubble destination as of right now. I might be wrong on that. Someone can correct me. But I think they're the only one who is still traveling daily between different cities and stuff like that. So, Jimmy, how do you think the MLB is going to proceed after these results?
Well, they're being very proactive about canceling games. They do have the benefit of having a much longer regular season than the NFL. The
Hmm.
MLB is having a 60 game regular season. NFL only has 16 games. So
Yeah.
canceling one game in the NFL would just be really brutal and really affect the season.
Yeah.
So the MLB has that advantage that they can wipe out two, three, 4 games here or there, and it doesn't really affect the season.
Some people would argue, though, that it would because I know some people who are big baseball fans and they think even a 60-game season is too short of a season. Because if you look at last year, again, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a huge baseball fan, but according to them, I think the World Series champions last year were, but in the first 60 games, they were under 500. And then they went on to win the World Series. So some people, like I said, in baseball argue that if you take away those games, it might be more detrimental than beneficial.
Yeah, that's true, and it's possible that they don't even have to take away the games. They're able to play double headers.
Yeah,
They may have days off where they can squeeze in a game here or there. So
exactly.
baseball has a significant advantage in being able to shift and move around games compared to the NFL.
Hmm.
Now, one thing that was interesting about the positive rates was the initial positive rate among MLB was around 1.2% or so, which is pretty low. We
Yeah.
saw the NBA coming about 5% with the initial testing. We'll find out very soon in the next few days what the NFL initial testing rate is going to be, and I'm fascinated to see what that is. But maybe because the MLB initial testing rate was so low, it's possible, and I've said this before, that a low testing rate potentially increases the likelihood of more positive tests during the season. I think if you're rooting for regular season to go smoothly,
Mm,
it's more likely the regular season is going to go smoothly if more players have already been positive and recovered before the season starts.
mhm,
So the higher the initial testing rate, the more likely the season is going to go smoothly.
exactly. The one question though is if, like you say, it's better to get it early and recover from it. So, say if everyone starts reporting back to training camp, some players start testing positive. How if they have to be out for 1 to 2 weeks again? Would you say it was a? Do they? We still don't know the exact days that they're going to be out. Do you know?
Well, they did announce it, which is minimum 10 days if you're symptomatic and minimum 5 days if you're asymptomatic.
All right. So it just kind of puts in question if maybe half quarter of the team test positive during training camp and they're out for that period of time in training camp when they've already missed OTAs and all that, how that could affect them going into the season, which we discussed last week, or I think we discussed on Jim's podcast interview, if it could possibly increase the injuries with players not playing or not being able to be in training camp for the full amount of time.
Right. So it would affect training camp, but would you rather have players miss 1 to 2 weeks in training camp or miss 1 or 2 weeks in the regular season?
Exactly.
So there's a chance that getting early does provide some immunity and potentially will decrease the likelihood they'll have a positive test during the regular season and decrease the likelihood that there would be an outbreak during the regular season.
Exactly. So how do you think the MLB is going to proceed from here? Do you think some people are saying that they should just cancel the whole season if there's more positive tests, but do you think that's a possibility or do you think like you said just mentioned that they might just kind of rearrange games or even push the season back a little bit further?
Yeah, I don't follow the MLB close enough to be able to predict what they would do, but I think they should push forward
Mhm.
and just see how it goes.
Yep.
If the positive rates get really out of control, then maybe put a 1 or 2 week hiatus on the season,
Yeah.
which it seems like they would be able to do that. But I think you got to push forward and and not just call things off anytime
Yeah.
there's a little bit of an outbreak.
Exactly. That's my biggest thing, especially which I know we're a sports show, but even in society, like I think just trying to cancel everything or shut everything down again is not good. We just need to put harder restrictions or more rules in place to try and keep things moving and progressing. And same thing in baseball. You need to just, like you said, maybe the at most put a 1 to 2 week hiatus on the season and just try to keep it going as quick as possible. And like you just mentioned with the NFL, it might even be good if players start testing positive now, and then it might be better for later than to keep going throughout the season and be fine.